So, is there another Highlander movie coming out, and are you in any way involved in it? Three pieces of advice for people trying to succeed as an actor, as an entrepreneur, or anything. What's the three best advice that you can give to people?
What would I like to do if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now?
Welcome back. Today we have a very special guest. I'm truly excited about this. We have Adrian Paul, aka the Highlander, to talk about entrepreneurship, to talk about success, to talk about what it takes to succeed as an entrepreneur and also in the acting industry. Adrian, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Hello. How are we doing this morning? You're in Greece, I take it.
Yes, Greece, very hot, but fortunately, I have an air conditioning in here. And you are in LA, which
Los Angeles, yeah, Los Angeles, yeah, and it's hot here too. I just dropped my son off at soccer, so he's baking, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So, so Adrian, look, I really hate interviews that start by saying, "Hey, tell us a few things about yourself." I really hate that. So I'm going to change it up. I'm going to switch this up. Imagine we're in high school. We're hanging out at the local cafeteria. We're friends, we're buddies, we're sitting next to each other. Who is Adrian Paul? What is he like?
At that point?
Yes, at that point.
At that point, I wanted to chase girls and be and play soccer. I think that was at that point at high school. That's all I wanted to do. Although I played rugby when I was a kid. So yeah, I did a lot of sports. I did cricket. I did running. I did, I was on the track team, on the athletics team, soccer team. Well, soccer team was when I was about 16. I missed between 10 and 16 when I was there. So, that's all I wanted to do was have fun, So, and I think you have to when you're a kid. I mean, I think that's extremely important because, you develop a lot of things. You develop your social skills. You develop, your own skills, what you like, what you don't like. And, the basic thing is for kids, they need to sort of enjoy what they're doing at that age because they can quite easily lose interest if their parents or their friends have been pushing them into doing something when they're younger. And now at 13, 14 years old, they're no longer interested and they'll lose it really quickly.
So your hobbies were rugby and also football, but I'm surprised. When did you start cutting people's heads off, like in martial arts? When did you start doing the martial arts?
Well, I was really physical. I used to get into a lot of fights when I was a kid. Never really took martial arts. Martial arts when I was a kid was only sort of developing. When I was 12 years old, 13 years old, you're talking that's the time when you just started hearing about, the Bruce Lees of the world. Actually, that was the 80s, late 70s, 80s. So it was only then. And so I started, when I came to California, when I was in my 20s, I actually started taking martial arts.
Oh, wow.
And, I studied a little bit, but I really, picked them up when I did Highlander, to be honest. And I studied, many hours a day, several days a week when I did do that because I had a goal, which was to make it look like I knew what I was doing, and I think, I've kind of, you can see the difference between what I did in the first year compared to the second year, basically just in the movements alone that were different.
So I have to ask, a lot of people may not know this, but you actually learn techniques, you actually learn martial arts in movies so you can actually do them and perform them. Would you say it is a shortcut to learning martial arts in general? Is it effective? Well, obviously it's effective, but would you say it's the same thing, or would you say there's things missing? How did you handle this to get into that role?
Well, there's never any shortcut to learn a technique correctly. Really simple. You have to put the time in. You have to constantly do it. It's like when you're a baby, you start walking and then you start running. You don't run before you can walk. And so need to know what the basics are in anything you do. And, the martial arts for the movies compared to martial arts in reality are different. They're not the same. You're not going to be, some of the stuff you do in reality won't sell very well in the movies. And vice versa. Some of the stuff you do in the movies just won't work very well in real life. And that's one of the things, I kind of teach these days is the difference between the reality and the fiction, if you like. Both have their benefits because, one allows you to move. You have to move. See, in film, you have a fight which lasts a long time, right? Yeah, and most of the time in a real fight, it doesn't last that long, especially with weapons. You really one or two cuts,
Yeah.
you've had it, you know. So what it teaches you in the movies is really the movement and how to get in and out of situations, so that when you do get into a real life situation, your body moves very quickly, you know. And I found that, and again, I thought it was also really good cardiovascular training, etc., to do that constantly over and over again. So you get to learn moves and you get to practice them in that aspect. But then you got to also understand that, you know, you wouldn't necessarily do a spinning kick, because spinning kicks or high kicks, the high kicks are most of the time aren't as effective as ones below the waist.
Yeah, plus they have less strength. I think it's 30%, while it's lower is 70%, or if I remember correctly from my kickboxing days.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, a lot of the time, if you're up above and you're doing something up above, you really can't see that quick sweep or that quick jab to the knee or to the thigh or to the ankle that somebody does from below. Doesn't say that spinning kicks are not effective. They are, but your timing has to be impeccable when you do it, because if somebody sees it coming, they can sideswipe it and then they've got the advantage. So, you know, it really depends on the situation. And that's one of the things I learned when I was doing sword fighting. A teacher of mine, Bob Anderson, was very instrumental in, you know, forming my ideology, if you like, on how to put together a fight in choreography. And he said, you know, your situation, and this was the same as my martial art teacher said, your situation dictates your action. So I said to my martial art teacher one time, what do you think is your most dangerous move? And he said this. He put his hand out and just put like a push. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if I'm on top of a building, that's definitely my most dangerous move. He said, it really depends on where you are. You can't just say, well, I'm going to do this technique and it'll work. Somebody might counter that. You might be against a wall. You might be in a river. You might, you know, so you have to adapt.
So you actually teach martial arts. People can actually take. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. Let's go back to high school real quick, because we're hanging out again. Obviously, we're chasing the girls. Naturally, I get the better ones. But my question is, what happened after, like before your acting career? What were you doing in your life?
I had no clue what I wanted to do. I mean, my soccer career, which is what I wanted to go, I was kind of doing it kind of semi-professionally, not really. And so I was like, I don't know but I need a job, you know. And this is one of the things I tell my kids is that it doesn't matter how good you are as a sportsman, you need a backup in real life to fall back to. Even if it's, you know, suddenly you make a lot of money playing soccer, you got to know where to put it. You got to know what to do with it, right? So this is what I'm telling them. So I went and worked in a bank. I actually worked as a bank teller when I first left school. And at nights, to make up the money, because it wasn't great pay, I would be working in a restaurant from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'd get back at 3, 4 days a week. And I'd be, 3 days a week, I think it was. And then I go to work at 9 o'clock the next morning. So, you know, it was grueling when you're 18, 19 years old. You know, it's a grueling thing to do, but you're earning money. You're getting to do the things you want to do with that money you're able to earn. And it teaches you, you know, discipline. So, you know, I did that. And then I obviously had a girlfriend at the time. And she put me in a competition of my boyfriend could be a male model. And I had no clue she did it. And I was like, what have you done? She goes, yeah, they want to talk to you. I'm like, okay, great. That's good. What on earth is this? So I went and talked to them and I won the competition, but I'd never won anything in my life before, you know. So, and the reward was a spread in their magazine. It was called Company Magazine, and the introduction to an agency, which I got introduced to. They took me on. I did stuff, and then I started modeling, and I started getting into fashion shows, which was more movement, which was more what I liked. And it kind of took me away from what I was doing before. I mean, I stopped doing the modeling. I stopped doing the bank work. I kind of did both. And then when modeling and then the catwalk scene, if you like, started paying me my rent and more, I stopped doing the other one. And then that took me to, you know, learning choreography and starting to dance. And then I started dancing, and you know, my very first catwalk that I ever did was in front of, I think it was Princess Anne or Princess Margaret. It was a charity ball, and I was scared absolutely out of my wits because I'd never done anything like this before. You know, I'm like, what am I doing here? You know, they're like, yeah, it was a replacement for the last minute type of thing. So I had this, remember having this shirt on that was like a satin silk shirt, whatever, see-through thing, and a jacket which was lined with satin. And so they said, put it on, just walk to the end of the catwalk and come back. Well, I'm so petrified. I put this jacket on, I'm basically hardly moving, and I'm walking down the catwalk, and this jacket is falling down my shoulders. But I don't think about I'll just pull it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's falling down. It's falling down. Oh my God. And the lights are there and the people are there and the cameras are flashing and all that. And I get to the end of the catwalk, it's halfway down my shoulder. So I've put it up and I wiggled my butt literally right in Princess Anne's face. So I got known after that as the butt. I mean, that was,
That's it. The secret of success is right there. It's all in the butt movement. That's it. That's it.
Right there. It's in the butt movement, man. It's like
right place, right time, and move that butt.
Exactly. So, so then I started doing, catwalks. I did more, and I started doing a little bit of choreography, and I got introduced to some people in Paris. When I went over to Paris, a friend of a friend kind of said, oh, I'm doing this rehearsal for this group that travels. They do traveling shows across Europe. And I said, okay, I'll let me go see. And I was interested. I'd heard about them, and I got there and he wasn't there. And they said, well, did you come for the audition? I went, no, I'm just here to see a friend. He goes, oh, why don't you just sit there? So all the people from there were mostly English. A lot of them were dancing in the Lido in Paris, or some of them were dancers that I'd seen, black dancers that I'd seen in England. I thought they were amazing dancers, actually, and they were part of this group. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are part of this? So I got talking to them, started talking to one of the girls, got interested in one of the girls. Eventually, when the guy came in and the guy that was coming to audition came in, they said, why don't you audition too? And I went, all right, fine, I'll do it. So I did it because I've been looking at the moves, and I kind of got through it. And they said, yeah, we might be interested in using you.
Oh, wow.
But by that point, I was already interested in the girl. So I decided to go to Germany that evening I just happened to have my passport on me, and go to Germany for 3 days with no clothes and nothing, just because I liked this girl that was on the trip. And, I came back, and then I started working with them after that. And that was like 3-4 years of doing that. And I started doing vaudevillian type shows, and then I started acting. So it's one thing after another. I never believed that, any door is unopened to you. I think what energy you put out there is the energy you're going to get back. So if you're looking for that, there's going to be opportunities for you, but they might not come up the way you expected them to.
Got you. So you always take advantage of your situation. How did you get into movies? In actual movies? Like, what were your first movies, and how did you transition to Highlander after that?
I did, I'd done small, like, production in England. I sort of a little bit of study, nothing really. It wasn't anything really. And I got to Los Angeles. A friend of mine who he'd been a model I'd met in Milan, nice guy. He said, and I'd taken him over to England. He came over to England, watched the Wimbledon, and met all my buddies and all that, and came. And he was saying, and then another friend was saying, oh, why don't you come to America? Come to LA, because it's a great place, and I've got a place there. And I'm like, okay, fine. I've been to New York before once on a job, and I'd studied a little bit in New York at the time. And but then I got to Los Angeles, and back in the early 80s, 1984, actually, April 1984. I remember that date because it was the day I actually took title to the apartment I bought in England and never really lived in it. So I got here, and I knew nobody. Absolutely nobody. And I for the next 3 or 4 months, I started, trying to get work here. I got work as a model, kind of. I fell into a company called Sebastian, and Sebastian International were a hair company, and I happened to do a job as a model for them on a catwalk. It was a choreographed number. I was the only guy, and I was playing a pimp. Okay. Hard stretch. I got to meet them afterwards, and I was talking to them after, and they said to me, they said, oh, they kind of stood off me a little bit, and they happened to be Italian. I'm like, oh, you're Italian? I started going, blah, 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 speaking in Italian, and the owner of the company said, oh, I thought you were a real, jerk. Because I said, no, that's just the guy I'm playing on stage. It's not who I am. So, so I started playing this, and they started talking about choreography. I said, well, actually, I've choreographed before, would you be interested? So they said, they looked at my reel that I had, and I started working for them for the next 2 years, doing choreography all over the United States for girls who I'd have like 30 girls that I'd have to choreograph and some of them had done absolutely nothing. They were people they pulled out the audience, so I had to put these numbers together. And while that was going on, because I always believe you have to have a couple of irons in the fire, I was also studying at the same time. And while I was studying, I was still in Los Angeles, and I got to it was time for me to try and look for an agent. I've been studying for a little bit of time in Los Angeles. Obviously, I studied in New York and that. And I went to a photographic studio, and there was a girl there, and she said, "Oh, have you been up for James Bond?" I went, "No." She goes, "Oh, because you look." I said, "Oh, thanks a lot. Because you're English, right?" I go, "Yeah, I'm English. Yeah, I'm English." So anyway, I said, "Thank you. Well, thank you very much, and nice to meet." She said, "Well, I've got an agent that might be interested in you." I said, "Well, I'm great, thanks, but I'm thinking this girl's trying to pick me up," which she kind of was at the time. So I get home, and there's a message on my machine. I'm like, I didn't give her my number. So I pick up the thing, and I called her, and I said, "Hi, how you doing?" She says, "Good." She says, "Listen, I've got an agent. I've spoken to an agent about you. She wants to have a meeting with you." And I'm like, "Okay, but how did you get my number?" She says, "Oh, I took it off the sheet that you wrote in for the photos that you were doing." So she looked at the sheet on the table and copied the number from there.
Wow.
And I said, "What is it you want from this?" She goes, listen, people have helped me in the past. I just thought I'd want to help you out as well." So I said, "All right." So I met this agent, and then I met one or two other agents, but I actually finally went with this girl, this lady. And 3 months later, there was an audition for the Colbys. And it was something I got. I played a Russian ballet dancer that was kind of defecting to the US, and that was kind of the story, and very soap oriented.
Did you have the accent?
I did. I had to. I played Nikolai Rostov. He played Come for Crash. It's cool for you. Yes. Anyway, so I got that role, and that was kind of the start, really, for me in here. And I got my own series for 20 episodes. That's kind of one of the very first things I ever really got that was of any note. And
how did they get to Highlander?
Well, that was in the formative years. From that point, I started working as an actor more, and therefore the dancing stopped. So again, same things going from the bank to the modeling.
Right.
It was the same type of thing. And I went on today. I started, and I worked on a series called War of the Worlds, which was very similar. Then I had another pilot, which was for CBS, called The Owl, which was very similar to Highlander. It was long coat, lone figure type of thing. And literally, I guess a little bit after that, I got called in for this TV series they were creating on this film called Highlander. Now, I'd seen the first Highlander, and I was like, "Oh, it's really cool." And literally about 3 or 4 months before, I'd been in a casting office from the people who had actually cast Highlander 2, which the producers never actually admitted existed anymore after they saw what happened to that one. And I was looking at this poster, and I said, "You know what? I really got a feeling I'm going to do something with that. It's just right up my alley." So I got this meeting, and I was the very first person they ever saw for the role. And I went in and I sat down. It was at the Beverly Hills, at the Hilton in Beverly Hills, and the Four Seasons. No, Four Seasons. No, the Marriott. Or anyway, one of them. Yeah. And I walked in there, and there was the producer, the casting director, the other producer, and that was 4 people in the room. And I sat down. I said, "Well, tell me a little bit about yourself." I said, "Well, to tell you first, my name's Adrian, and I do this and this. And to be honest, you don't have to look any further because you've got your man." And they kind of looked at me like, "Oh, really? You're that confident with it, are you? You cheeky." Anyway, so then I got a call after that. They looked in London and they looked in New York. They brought me in to read. I read the part. I then went back out again. Then I got down to 5 people that they wanted to screen test. And at the time, you see, most people are like, "Well, why don't you go into this and why don't you go into that?" People don't understand the business side of it. I mean, it's called show business. And at the time, Highlander was actually governed or was part of 5 different countries. It was Japan, Germany, France, United States, and Italy. And so at that time, everybody had a decision as to who the Highlander was going to be. So these 5 guys that went up for the screen test, we went up there, we did the screen test. 3 weeks later, I'm still got nothing. And usually after about a week, you're going to get something. Well, we're interested with it, but there was nothing. And literally about 3 weeks later, I was really disappointed because I thought I was going to get this. And I was at the gym with my training at the gym, and I remember looking at my trainer at the time, and I looked across the street and there was a Mercedes. I said, you know what, if I'd gotten this series, I could have probably afforded that car. And I went home, and my fiance then, who then was soon to become my ex-wife, then said, you got it. And I said, got what? She said, Highlander. And I couldn't believe it because my agent 3 days before had said to me, it's probably over and gone. I'm going to leave my assistant here, but I'm going on vacation. So I get the job, and they said, oh, and you're leaving on Monday. And this was like Thursday.
Oh, wow.
I was like literally leaving in like a few days. As luck would have it, Christophe Lambert was going to come in to actually reprise his role, which was great because originally I was supposed to play Connor McLeod, not Duncan McLeod, which I was really fearful of because I'd already done War of the Worlds, were coming in to replace a character. I'd done another series where that had kind of happened as well, and it's never good. Fans don't take well to change a lot of the time. They always kind of invested in the characters they've already invested in,
Yeah.
And so
they relate.
But yeah, they relate to it, and so I was actually lucky to get another name, and so we went through a few names, and Duncan became the name that was chosen.
Cool, that's awesome. So you got the role of Highlander. You started cutting people's heads off. You were the only one left. You won. What happened after?
Well, I didn't exactly win. I mean, because like in Highlander, there can be only one, but there's always another around the corner. It's like they keep popping up.
I haven't seen any since though.
Well, since the first film, there was the second film, then there was the series, and in the end of the series, I walked out into a uncertain future type of thing. Then came into Endgame, where I then became the one with Christophe Lambert. Then we did the Source, which really didn't go that well. I thought. I mean, it had a great premise, but again, I think the problem was that management got involved.
Yeah.
And the way they'd sold it and the way they actually created the script and they'd done the whole thing, it was, I think they went the wrong direction with it in a sense. And then Bill Panzer, the producer, also had a fall where he broke his neck and had to have emergency operations. So when we got to Lithuania, he was there for like a very short period because he was recuperating still.
Mm-hmm.
And then he left, and there was no real producer on set except the line producer and myself. And to tell a director, I was kind of in between. Like, am I the director? Am I the actor? Am I the producer on this? I was exec producer, not a producer. And so, I did take over portions of it because the other producer who was in LA, who was more the business side of the relationship, was saying to me, we can shoot this scene. I said, this scene is unshootable. You can't shoot this in the time you've got. No, we've got this. I said, you're not going to shoot it. Yes, we can do it. Okay, fine. So we go to shoot, and of course we don't shoot it because I've done fast stuff. I mean, that's part of my background is doing things quickly. On TV, you don't get the luxury that you do in film. You don't get the rehearsals. I know how long it can take to shoot an action. I directed before. I spent 5 years doing this. So I was kind of pretty much aware of what the parameters were. And sure enough, so I spoke to him. I said, listen, I can get the majority of it the next day if you create a splinter unit from the main unit, but you're going to have to create that because we can't get this. It was impossible to get in that short period of time. So the next day or the 2 days later, we're reshooting I'm shooting with second unit while across the forest, the other side of the lights is first unit shooting. So I'm shooting one side and they're shooting the other side. A lot of stuff in there. So it became that chicken and the egg. I want this, but I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to spend the time doing it. And, it's...
Yeah, you either have to pay or put the time in. You can't have both.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's what happened with that.
Yeah. So is there another Highlander movie coming out, and are you in any way involved in it?
Yes and no are the answers to that.
Short answers.
Yeah. Yeah, there is another one from what I
Very,
hear.
very Russian. Like, let's see it.
That's it. That's it. It's been several years they've been trying to bring a Highlander movie out. I hear now they have a new lead. They haven't said he's the actual lead yet, but they're supposed to be bringing it out. And then if they do that, they may bring a series out because I think it will revamp everything. But I'm not involved. They're redoing the first film. I haven't seen the script. I heard it's pretty good. They have a good director on it. The guy that directed John Wick. I think he's still involved. And they've so they now they got some chance of actually having it made. But who knows what's going to happen.
So what do you do now? What are you involved in right now?
Well, I'm still acting, but I'm also producing. I've got my production company in Europe. We're just in the process of finalizing some very big things. I mean, obviously, as you possibly are well aware, when you never count your chickens before they're hatched, and it's only when the money's in the bank does anything actually go through. I mean, this is a very large deal that we've got, but it's there are issues always until it gets to the final stage, final hurdle. So I have that production company. I handle that. I also have my Sword Experience, which is the company I started about 5 years ago, which I can't believe it's 5 years now, where I take, it's called the Sword Experience. And the idea was to take people to interesting locations and teach them a choreographed fight, which has now ended up in now having different structures from an academy to retreats and all this, where we actually write a script and you can be part of that script as one of the roles. So we teach the choreography, we teach the safety aspects. You work with partner, we set a script together and we shoot it. And I get to shoot 6 hours. It takes me to shoot this thing, which is like a breakneck speed to do it. But, we've gotten some really fun little things for people to take home. And, it's I've got my retreat coming up in December that we've just launched. It's already about 40% full, so which is great. And in December, not did I say September, December, I think I said. Anyway, but that's in Mexico. So so we have different stuff, and so it's a business, and it's something that is growing, and it seems to be doing well. Again, it's like anything. You find a business and then it kind of adjusts slightly and you find a better avenue, or you get rid of the stuff that doesn't work and stuff that does. I mean, it's kind of that situation.
20% of what you do is 80% of what it brings in, or something like that, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean,
so let's get a little bit into entrepreneurship and success questions, because this is an entrepreneurship and success channel. And my first question is, what does it actually take to succeed as an entrepreneur? Because you are an entrepreneur, but also an actor. Is it the same thing, or is it different? What does it actually take?
No, it's different and similar to a point. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be open to new challenges. I think you have ideas that come out, and then you've got to go, well, can I actually make that happen? Do I have the connections to make that happen? And if you don't, find them. As an actor, that's a similar thing, because when you're first starting, you've got to sort of connect in the community. You've got to be around that community, because somebody says something that then leads you to another spot, that then you go somewhere else and you meet somebody. So I think the same thing applies with entrepreneurs. You put yourself in the world that you're trying to explore, and then certain opportunities, like I said before, you actually put your energy out there to actually let that happen. And then information will come to you that you have a decision to make on, if it's the best direction you want to take.
Got you. You keep on mentioning put your energy out there. Is this something, do you believe in that, like putting your energy out there and you get rewarded by the universe? It's sort of the secret, or do you have your own philosophy on that?
No, I kind of believe that. I kind of believe that there is a, if you're a bad person, bad stuff's going to happen to you. I think that's just simple. I mean, no good stuff is going to happen. If you're a good person, bad stuff can happen, but you can have good things happen to you as well. I think, you really sort of have to sort of decide yourself. Let me put it like this. As a kid, what was your dream?
I had a few dreams.
Okay. What was the thing you wanted to be most? as a kid?
Man.
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I don't think I really knew. I think maybe police.
Okay, so a police
We were
officer,
very
right? You want
rich
to,
after I got a little older.
okay, so, but you wanted to be a police officer, right? And that's your dream when you were a kid. But
Well,
along the way, okay, so what?
that's,
Go on.
that was well, that was very. I think it was acting, actually, acting, singing, stuff like that. But it was police work involved. I don't know. It was kind of. I'm a mess when I was a kid. So
When you were a kid, okay, but you had some sort of idea
yeah,
that you had. But along the way to get to do that, other things came to you. You had
yeah,
to make a decision about, okay, I've now got no money and I'm going to be given this job. Do I go and explore the acting and stuff with no money, or do I get this job where I can make some money? At that point, you have a decision to make, and that happens along the entire path
yeah,
that you have. Sometimes, if you have a clear vision as to what you want, then that path will be, it'll have slight different shoots off of it to get to it.
yeah.
Other than that, you might fall into something that you like better because you put the energy out there to go that way, and the information's come back, and now you have the decision to make from that point, from that those things that have come to you. So that's what I think it is. It's our lives. I know a lot of people don't have the opportunity to say, you know, I had a bad, you know, I've had this, I've had that, I've had a terrible time, but yet you have, yes. But some people also have the ability to say, that's not going to stop me from doing X. I'm going to be able to accomplish this. So later on in life, the decisions you make are who you are.
No, I agree.
Decision.
I can agree with that. And if you want to, throughout my life, everything I wanted to become, I wanted to become an MC. I became an MC. I wanted to work with Public Enemy. I worked with DJ Lord from Public Enemy, hanged out with him and so on, met all these artists. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I did. I wanted a nightclub. I said, I'm going to buy that nightclub one day. I was a bouncer at it. I bought it. So yes, and you know, wanted to work in companies. I wanted to be a director. I did it, music director. Then I did acting a little bit, and everything I wanted to do, I did. It's very true. Even business, even now, what I'm doing is not just about the YouTube channel. I manage companies and so on. I'm an author, and I did this through some of the biggest pains. I mean, you know this. I went through cancer twice. This is the second time I'm fighting cancer right now as we speak. On chemotherapy pills that just came out. My mother died of cancer. My sister died of cancer. Short between. My dad is right now, as we speak, in hospital fighting. But I'm still doing what I have to do, and things are hard, and you have to keep on going. The show must go on. You have no choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I very much agree with you. But yes, bad things do happen, but there's a lot of good things that happen too. I can help my dad. I can do things. I'm still alive. Do you know what I mean?
You have the choice
You
to
have the
decide
choice.
how you want. Something comes to you. You know, something, whether it's cancer, whatever, you can decide which way you want to go with it. You want to say, oh yeah, I might go pity me.
Yeah.
Then the rest of your life is going to be that.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
If you can say to yourself, this has happened to me. Okay, how do I make the best of what's happened to me at this point? Right. So I think that's really what it is. It's the decision you make at that point as to how your life is going to go.
And that's a great message for our viewers. And on that note, how do you handle failures? Because we've all had failures. How do you handle them?
You know,
unless you haven't.
I've had a couple that have really gutted me. You know, and you know, it's like you have a loss in the family. It kind of takes a piece of you, but you have to understand that life goes on, and there will be something else if you continue forward. I mean, I've been in some really dark spots. I mean, I right after Highlander, I was in a really bad spot. But I kept saying, I'm going to move forward here. I'm going to look. There's something's. I might not see it now, but later on it will happen. My brother was in the same situation after the tsunami of 2002. Lost absolutely everything. The whole lot washed into the ocean.
Yeah.
He was lucky to survive with his kids intact. So after that, I said, you've got to keep going here, because it's obviously his passport was found in the water. Right, they found his passport and work permit. His wallet he dug up while he was scuba diving, because he actually was the guy that actually helped clean up the island. He had 70 divers a day pick up of 5 and 6 tons worth of debris off the ocean. And I said, you go forward and you keep doing something like that, something else will come. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He got a business, he got this big deal from somebody else because he pushed forward through that crap that happened to him. And I think that's something you have to really understand. Crap is going to happen to you. That's not going to be a surprise. At some point, something's going to happen that's not great. You have to decide how you get out of it. I actually have on my wall right now is when you find yourself stuck, it's your job to get yourself unstuck.
That's
Simple.
nice, man. That's powerful, man. I like that on the wall. So you believe in affirmations? You write down affirmations?
I put it there because sometimes you kind of listen. We all get hit by side hit by something. You don't get the job you wanted. You don't get the money you made. Didn't make the money. Whatever it is. So at some point you need something to go. I've got to remember that. Yes, you got to be inspired, but to do something that moves you forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to understand.
Do you have many people have goals? Do you have a purpose and ambitions? Do you have a purpose, or that you know that you're going towards?
Yeah, my purpose is my kids. That's my purpose.
Of course.
You know, I mean, my purpose before, I had two purposes before. One was to be famous and to be known, and I achieved that, right? But that's a really superficial type of purpose. Once I had that, I really, from my point of view, I'd always wanted to help kids, and I didn't know quite how I was going to do it. Having a fame, I really realized that the power a celebrity can have to kids, because kids now start listening to you because they believe you to be something. So I started my own charity back in 1997 that has been still in existence today. And so it was the idea of actually giving kids the inspiration or a slight push along the right path for a lot of underprivileged kids from one thing to another. Now our organization has been all over many different countries. It's called the Peace Fund, and the PEACE, which stands for Protect, Educate, Aid Children Every Day. And we started that, and we've been in Guatemala, we've been in Cambodia, Thailand, Romania, Hungary, United States, Dominican Republic. We've been a lot of different places where we've teamed up with other organizations and done small things. But you know, you just don't know if you help that one kid. It might be that one kid that does this great thing that you've now been able to put on the right path. I don't know what kids I've helped. I do, but I don't know what that repercussion has been. And I kind of feel that when you get given something in that sense, you're helped by people, the generosity from others really affects you. And I've seen that in many of the charities that I've interviewed. The people that go there to volunteer find themselves engaged in that organization, and finally sometimes becoming the chief running officer of that organization because they're so affected by what's happened. Charity work is nothing. It has nothing to do with you giving to somebody else. It actually affects you more, because when you start doing it, your soul is affected, and that changes the way that you react to other people.
That is great. That is very, very powerful. So do you have any hobbies and morning rituals? Like, do you do something every day that's like a morning ritual to you? Could be anything.
Nah, not really. I get up, I get dressed, I have a shower, I get dressed. Usually my morning ritual is taking my kids somewhere. That's like taking them to soccer, or taking them to dance, or taking them to martial arts, or to tennis, or to wherever they're going to go. Usually I'm the one that takes them in the morning, or to school, of course. And my wife picks them up because, you know, we've got a baby now. So, you know, it's a little harder now to do that. But I don't really have any morning rituals. I'm so varied in the things I do that, you know, I don't do it. I mean, no.
What do you think of this advice going around the high school? Okay, I've never finished high school. I'm sure there's some people never finished high school that have done things in their life, but there's a lot of self-help gurus which just suggest to everybody to get out of school. They don't need school and stuff. What's your opinion on that?
I'm in two minds on that, in a sense. I think you know, the fact of schools is that it teaches you a discipline of learning. It doesn't teach you to be smarter. It just teaches you a way to do things. That's what I believe. You know, yes, you learn things, but you could do that on your own. But what it does is it has a curriculum saying, okay, this time you got to be here. You got to do it in this structure. So you're following a routine. So it gives you a discipline, in a sense, to follow that routine. Yes, a lot of guys that are making a lot of money are not necessarily the ones that had, you know, the best grades in school or the best results in school. There's what's his name? very huge fashion designer, massive fashion designer, never finished high school. I mean, so it does happen, but it's rarer because today everything is about results. It's about getting your kids into school, and it's about saying, okay, he's got this, and this. Okay, we'll give him the position, and it's easier to sort of bring somebody in when they've got the qualifications from school. So it just makes it hard if you don't have those qualifications today. So as I said, I'm in two minds as to what it is. I think you have to know a little bit of street, a little bit of what goes on in street stuff, but then backed up by the knowledge that you can, add up, or know how to structure something, or have a business plan, or that type of thing.
You need to learn to learn.
Yeah, I mean that's what school is. It's learning to learn, in a sense.
So 3 pieces of advice for people trying to succeed as an actor, as an entrepreneur, or anything. What's the 3 best advice that you can give to people?
The first thing is know your lane.
Know your lane. Okay.
Yeah. In other words, it's very hard there's an old saying, which is you can be what is it? You can be good at everything, but a master of none. I think that's not, I'm not phrasing it.
Yes,
but the idea is that if you've got to know the direction and be clear on what you want, so that you can go after that thing rather than being sidetracked by 3 or 4 other things, because you can't do 3 or 4 other things. As a producer in film, you have to have 3 or 4 films, but they're still producing as a film, and you still have the similar structure. So, but you're still doing that one job. So be very clear about that. As an actor, you have to know that you're a product. You're not the creative side. It's called the show business because it's a business. It has nothing else to do with it. If you don't understand that your agent and manager can only sell you as what they see you as, whether it is an action star, a teen star, a love affair, romantic, whatever that is, you've got to know what they're selling you as, and be happy with it and back everything up. Today it's a little bit different as well, because you have social media. A lot of people on YouTube and all the social media, but they are becoming the stars that of yesteryear that were around, because they now have a different platform, and so the industry has changed. So you have to really understand that there is another aspect of it. You have to hit all the bases, like your Instagram pages and your Facebook pages and all that type of stuff, so that's another part of it. The last thing I'd say would be don't cut corners. Don't cut corners. If you're going to do something, do it at the best of your ability. Don't just do it half-assed. Don't say, people said to me sometimes, "Oh, you're an actor, so that's could be pretty easy." And I said, "No, I went to school, I studied." "Oh, no. You just have to go up there and say lines, don't you?" And I'm like, it's not exactly that. There is a craft behind it.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult craft because it's ever changing. So you have to really be true to doing it and do the work. You have to do the work. And if you don't do the work, you're not gonna succeed, because eventually you might get one thing, but then you'll just fall off and it'll be bye-bye. You won't do anything else.
Nice. That's great. Okay. And now one more question is, what's that one question you wish kids or people asked you that you can help them with? What's that one question you wish people asked, but no one really ever does?
Oh, gosh, I don't know, because people have asked me so many questions. Oh, what question would they ask? I don't.
Yeah, an important one, maybe that's very seldom, or should be discussed or should be asked.
See, I have a vlog that I do all the time, so I'm always telling people, things that I think. I actually took your advice. I do a daily vlog now, so.
I'll put the link down below for everyone to check it out. Plus, like this video, subscribe.
Exactly. Exactly. What people ask me? I don't know. To be honest, I've been asked so many different questions about my life, and sometimes repetitively the same things. I'm a private person, so what I want somebody to ask me and what I want to offer up as information is not exactly,
I meant advice that you can help people. I didn't mean, I didn't mean, it doesn't have to be personal. It could be anything.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I guess what would I like to do if I didn't if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now?
What
You know,
would you
what
like to
would
do if you weren't doing what you were doing?
I'd like to be alone on an island somewhere with studying martial arts and being meditative. That's what I'd like to do, or on a mountain. You know, that's kind of, you know, I've always thought about that Zen life. But then
Yeah.
the other part of me is like, no, you wouldn't be able to hold that for like, you know, more than a year or two, because, you know, you need socialization. Sometimes I don't like most people. I'll be totally honest with you. I think people are they're just unfortunate sometimes, some of the things people do, and, you know, being around large groups of people is not my thing.
Hmm.
And, people say, well, you should be in the movie industry, going to the parties and that, and parties were never my thing. You know, I might have been a bigger actor if, you know, I'd hung around those people and knew all those people, but I just I was kind of shy as a kid, and I just didn't. So, you know, but I'm happy with what I've got.
That's amazing. And you also, you're into cryptocurrency. I know
Mhm.
you like cryptocurrency, but don't answer. I got a few questions for you for that. But for people to see that, they have to check out the video that I'm going to link down below on my other channel, the Crypto Factor, because I'm going to talk to you about crypto. I'm going to ask you about crypto and see how into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin you are in. Does that sound fair?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you so much for this. This is I've learned a lot. I think it's great advice, and I ask you guys to check out his links. They're in the description down below. But if you want to know what he does with crypto, with Bitcoin, and what his views are, check it out. There's also a link down below, and I'll see you there, and we will see you there.
Thank you. See you.